science fiction had a theme song, it'd likely be REM's Ode to Annihilation. More often than not, the genre comes off like a bad acid trip of worst-case scenario paranoia.
We are grown.
Machine takeovers, aliens colonizing Earth, virulent disease threatening human extinction, even genetically modified chimps waging total war. It's safe to say that sci-fi has a proclivity for veering towards dystopia. And we here at CineFix just can't get enough. Because psychology has so much to do with how movies work, today we're putting science fiction on the couch for some therapeutic introspection. Why does science fiction tend to have such a dystopic worldview? And what does the genre look like in its rare moments of good cheer? Before we plumb the depths of sci-fi's doom and gloom, we need to quickly sort out what constitutes true science fiction. First comes a water is wet type of observation, but stick with us for a second. True sci-fi must deeply care about science. Sometimes obsessively, like Primer, and sometimes bafflingly. We're looking at you, Interstellar, and your four-dimensional hypercube tesseracts.
Constructed this three-dimensional space inside their five-dimensional reality to allow you to understand it.
Well, that ain't working.
In science fiction, the science may be fictive, but the overall narrative is rooted in the science the story establishes.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
In Jurassic Park, we're treated to an animated dino DNA explainer.
A DNA strand like me is a blueprint for building a living thing.
In The Thing, tainted blood petri dishes are subjected to a hot coil to determine who has been infected with the extraterrestrial parasite, a perfect encapsulation of the hypothesis, experiment, conclusion scientific method. In Minority Report, we get an introductory sequence detailing the precog's psychic visualization ability as well as a prescient depiction of near-future augmented reality. In each, the science isn't an afterthought. It's a critical building block in the foundation of the story. It grounds a far-fetched premise in believability. Remove the science from sci-fi and the whole movie would unravel into juvenile Roger Corman-esque absurdity. We know we're going to catch some exploding Alderaan flack for this, but Star Wars is not science fiction. It's a pulpy Buck Rogers-inspired fantasy space opera that elevates the metaphysical, the Force, over the scientific.
Use the Force, Luke.
All that to say, science is important to science fiction movies, and water is wet. So, why did we belabor the obvious? Because the very essence of what science means to mankind on a philosophical level is what infuses science fiction with its dystopic tenor. Prior to the scientific revolution, humans explained away the unknown with religion. Storms, eclipses, plagues, they were all acts of God or gods with whom we curried favor via acts of faith, prayer, and ritual sacrifice. But with the birth of the scientific revolution, we began to illuminate our worldview with an affirming belief. The unknown was not unknowable. It merely had yet to be discovered.
Iced tea?
This profound philosophical shift elevated us from being an extra in a cosmic movie into a leading role in a film that's all about us. Now we were enmeshed in a complicated web of causality. Our actions had direct results. The world was ours to influence, but it also meant we were now responsible for everything that happens to us.
Your life is yours to create.
Big time gulp. And that, we think, is the crux of why the genre so frequently sets up camp in dystopia. Science fiction examines mankind's challenge to master the vast and mysterious complications of an unfeeling universe that doesn't care whether we live or die.
Oh my god, it's full of stars.
So if that's what sci-fi is more often than not about, how do we defeat existential dread? The solution that inevitably rescues mankind from permanent dystopia is humanism. It's the core theme of nearly every movie in the Western canon. It's the same solution that arose during the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. Humanism exalts the value and goodness of human beings and their needs as the ultimate good.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What does humanism look like on screen? Will Smith punching an alien invader in the face in Independence Day to protect our home planet.
Welcome to Earth.
Theodore finding comfort in Amy's touch after his OS Samantha breaks up with him. Rick Deckard holding an origami paper crane that symbolizes, well, we won't even pretend to be the authority on that one, but you get the drift. Humanism asserts that what preserves, protects, and defends human life. Period. Full stop. Humanist climaxes in sci-fi films tend to center around either a utilitarian sacrifice for the greater good, like a gut-shot Theo paddling the pregnant Key to the tomorrow, or a human act that no inhuman being could replicate, such as defeating death with a sleeping beauty kiss of true love, a la The Matrix. Of course, not all sci-fi ends on a positive note. The flip side of the humanist coin portrays what happens when humanism is superseded as the informing value of existence. And that is when things get very, very, oh my god, I feel personally attacked by the filmmakers, dark. We're talking 1984's Imagine a Boot Stamping on a Human Face Forever, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind's heartbreaking ending memory loop, Soylent Green being people eating people and nobody caring.
Soylent Green is people!
To further illustrate how this approach goes against our ingrained nature, imagine your favorite sci-fis without their humanist ending. Ripley gets eaten and her carcass becomes an incubator for alien spawn.
Jesus.
Marty McFly dissipates into a temporal void on stage in front of his mother at the high school dance. Trinity kisses Neo, Neo doesn't wake up, the Nebuchadnezzar is eviscerated by robotic squid lasers, and humanity remains battery pods for their mechanical overlords for eternity. And there you have it. Thanks for watching this week's meaningless CineFix in a universe that doesn't even know your name and would send the bullet with a bill to your mother, except it doesn't know her name either and can't be bothered to care enough to shoot you. We're kidding. We wouldn't leave you high and existentially dry like that. In fact, we have uplifting news. There's actually 2 positive flip sides to this sci-fi flip side, which in total paradoxically makes 4 flip sides. And you know what that means? Maybe Interstellar was right after all. The first positive flip side: what if the main threat of the sci-fi film turns out to not be a threat at all? The official technical name for this that we just came up with is called pulling a Spielberg, as both E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind perfectly embody this approach. Notable entries into this category include Contact, Arrival, Midnight Special, and of course, but to a lesser extent, Mac and Me. In this flip side, an alien arrival sends everybody into a tizzy, but it turns out the aliens come in peace, seeking out the same things we good humans want: knowledge and connection. The unlikely cosmic intersection of our species turns out not to manifest as a threat, but as a confirmation that here on Earth we've solved the riddle of finding meaning in the universe, to love and be good to one another. The second positive flip side: what if instead of being reflexively afraid of whatever lurks in the darkness beyond the limits of our knowledge, we charge headlong into the abyss of our ignorance, secure in the faith that our humanism and scientific method would carry the day, to explore strange new worlds,
to seek out new life and new civilization,
to boldly go where no one has gone before. Star Trek, in typically brilliant fashion, solves for sci-fi's dystopic bent by reframing the question from what will find us to what will we find. Viewed thusly, mankind's ignorance is no longer a curse, it's a gift. In a near-infinite universe, we're presented a near-infinite quest to spread humanist ideals across conflicts by defeating those who stand in stark opposition, and even a revenge-minded Khan.
Do you know the Klingon proverb that tells us revenge is a dish that is best served cold?
Yeah, Khan.
It is very cold.
And this is why we love sci-fi with all our hearts and wonky minds. It embraces the distressing fact that the only inevitability in life is change, and that we are powerless to predict the future. But when the future arrives, we will not be powerless.
You mean we're in the future?
How many kids?
God, what the hell are you doing?
Let us know what you think about sci-fi and humanism and alien-related tizzies in the comments below. And for more sci-fi talk, check out our top 10 sci-fi films of all time movie lists and our What's the Difference episode about The Thing. And as always, subscribe to CineFix for all your film nerd needs.